think will happen to her now?
Well, I'd like to see her work on a farm where she can relate with all the animals and the pets and the dogs and the cows and the pigs, because she can relate to animals far more than she does with people. I was not able to have any connection with her, make any eye contact. And here's the thing, it's not just me or three of us. There were over 100 employees over the 19 years that walk away with this sickened feeling, about working there. As much as I loved my job as a booker and producer, I was almost relieved when I got fired, because it was like I want to take a shower. It was like a whole new dawn. So I don't feel that she has the trust anymore of the...
Ellen DeGeneres slapped with a $100 million lawsuit by her own producers. That's not just a headline. That's the setup for a Hollywood roast so juicy it could marinate itself. Enter Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, armed with punchlines sharper than Ellen's old dance moves. The kings of chaos have taken their seats, and let's just say, Ellen's squeaky clean rep is getting deep-fried in a vat of sarcasm. What really went down backstage? Why does daytime TV suddenly feel like a legal thriller with commercial breaks? This scandal is unraveling faster than a vegan's patience at a Texas BBQ, and the drama is just heating up.
Situation. Yeah. People found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And then we're like, oh, yeah. I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a...
Ellen DeGeneres, once the undisputed queen of daytime charm and kindness, is now staring down a staggering $100 million lawsuit from her own producers. And just when you think it couldn't get more surreal, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld crash the party, turning courtroom chaos into comedy gold. It's the roast no one saw coming. The woman who danced through controversy is now two-stepping into legal turmoil. The same producers who once cheered her every joke. Now they're serving subpoenas instead of applause. Welcome to the Hollywood plot twist no one scripted, but everyone's watching.
She laughed while she badgered her staff. And so all good things must end, and also the Ellen DeGeneres show. Yes, the 83-year-old entertainer just announced that the upcoming 19th season of her show will be its last. Apparently, she created a workplace more toxic than an Amazon warehouse in Chernobyl. Countless allegations surfaced last summer that the show's work environment was rife with harassment and discrimination. Following those charges, Ellen's ratings dropped faster than Kevin Spacey's pants at a boy band pool party.
You just knew Joe Rogan wouldn't miss his shot, cracking that Hollywood's gone softer than tofu at a Malibu yoga retreat. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld's practically giddy, peeling back the layers of irony like it's Christmas morning. Ellen, the high priestess of daytime kindness, is now being painted as the backstage boss from a Bravo meltdown. Think staff walkouts, tantrums, and enough behind-the-scenes drama to fuel an entire streaming series. Her once untouchable image, now soggier than toast left out in a rainstorm. And that signature motto, be kind. Yeah, might want to swap that out for Lawyer Up.
DeGeneres bails for the UK. All right, I'm going to go to you first, Kat, because this is I think you understand this story. So Ellen and her wife, Portia, have left their millionaire haven of Montecito for England. Now, they're saying they'll never come back in the wake of Trump's win. Do you think that's the reason why she's leaving?
Absolutely.
This isn't just a fall from grace. It's a full-blown Olympic-level nosedive. No splash, just a tidal wave of lawsuits. If daytime TV had a blooper reel, this would be the jaw-dropping grand finale, complete with dramatic slow-mo. Rogan and Gutfeld didn't just toss a little shade, they engineered a total blackout. It's less a roast, more a solar eclipse, and Ellen's spotlight may never look the same again.
Beautiful name, Isis.
Ellen's rough.
Ellen is like
one.
an old...
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show. That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this.
It's so weird when you see, like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems...
Just when Ellen thought the meme storm had finally passed, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld tag-teamed her PR nightmare like it was UFC Fight Night. Brought to you by the ghosts of canceled talk shows past. Rogan, never one to sit out a good takedown, dives in with verbal jabs sharper than a spinning back kick. He's slicing through that $100 million lawsuit like it's a wild elk steak, raw, messy, and way too overcooked. In his eyes, the only thing more bloated than the alleged damages is Ellen's carefully polished image as America's quirky, lovable aunt. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's over in his corner, practically giddy, weaponizing irony like a seasoned roastmaster. He's spinning this Hollywood implosion into a one-man stand-up set, complete with metaphors that hit harder than a disgruntled intern's NDA-free podcast. The idea that the Queen of Kindness could be the boss from backstage hell. It's like imagining Mr. Rogers running an underground cardigan cartel. The absurdity practically writes itself. Together, they aren't just making jokes, they're launching a full-blown satire offensive. Gutfeld's zingers are rapid-fire, and Rogan's skeptical commentary brings a sharp edge to the chaos. This isn't comedy for laughs, it's comedy as precision strike. Every punchline lands with the weight of a whistleblower's exclusive, turning Ellen's public unraveling into primetime entertainment gold.
Show, home of Matt Lauer, that the bad press actually had nothing to do with her decision. Right, and the Titanic didn't hit an iceberg, it chose to sink.
If it was why I was quitting, I would have not come back this year. I really did think about not coming back because it did, it was devastating. I am a kind person. I am a person who likes to make people happy.
No, the real reason, she says, is it was just too easy. Telling the Hollywood Reporter, quote, when you're a creative person, you constantly need to be challenged. And as great as this show is, and as fun as it is, it's just not a challenge anymore. Well, if that's true, here's an idea. When your viewership is down 43%, why not consider that the challenge?
They're pulling back the curtain like two mischievous kids who just discovered the magician's secrets are nothing but smoke, mirrors, and a sad little fog machine. And they're reveling in every exposed illusion. As this lawsuit unravels like a tragicomic screenplay penned by someone on their third glass of peanut, Ellen's once whimsical empire is starting to resemble a theme park built on emotional quicksand. And with Rogan and Gutfeld narrating the downfall in real time, it's less comeback story and more corporate soap opera meets dark comedy. Greg Gutfeld isn't just throwing shade. He's practically pressure-washing Ellen's brand of so-called kindness and sarcasm. With the precision of a late-night hitman in a monologue mood, he paints a portrait of a workplace so hostile, even the office succulents allegedly filed HR reports. That squeaky clean persona. Gutfeld calls it the most successful con job since the Fire Festival. And those feel-good dance breaks. According to him, they were just rehearsals for emotionally stomping her assistants into oblivion. But wait, it spirals deeper. Rogan, ever the curious provocateur, begins tugging at the threads holding Ellen's empire together. Was it mass hypnosis? Hollywood herd mentality? A glitter-covered Ponzi scheme of be kind soundbites? Maybe all three. He's baffled at how producers managed to stay silent for so long, as if they were part of a secret kindness cult where the initiation ritual involved smiling through psychological warfare and misting the interns with lavender just to keep the breakdowns at bay.
Progress with the strike.
They're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's dirty shit. They cross the picket line.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, press. I'm so nice and I'm so sweet. Being behind the...
Then Greg Gutfeld circles back, prying open what he's now dubbing the daytime TV Hunger Games. From choreographed clapping that felt more like a hostage signal to silent sobbing in the green room, he's convinced Ellen's show was less feel-good talk show and more glitter-covered emotional boot camp. According to him, the only thing more rehearsed than the monologues were the breakdowns between takes. Meanwhile, Rogan isn't far behind, tossing in his own theory that the entire set ran on a volatile mix of suppressed emotions, burnout, and passive-aggressive post-it notes. Together, they're rebuilding the Ellen legacy as something out of a Netflix psychological thriller. One where the tension behind the scenes could slice through a tray of gluten-free vegan cupcakes with zero resistance. Forget celebrity sing-alongs and surprise giveaways. The real drama, they suggest, was always backstage. And now, with a $100 million lawsuit peeling back the layers, Gutfeld jokes that Ellen might want to pivot into a new genre entirely. Something darker. Rogan, never shy with a punchline, quips that her next featured guest might be her own legal counsel, ready to debut an exclusive behind-the-scenes docuseries called The Kindness Trap: How to Smile While Screaming Internally. Gutfeld, smirk practically audible, doubles down, reminding us that Hollywood once treated Ellen like the Dalai Lama, if the Dalai Lama had a teleprompter and a team of terrified interns.
Paddock. And do not ask me for sources, but Stephen Paddock.
Who's that?
He was the guy that shot up the Vegas concert. That was a very tragic thing. Listen to this. The only guy that saw Stephen Paddock alive, his name is Jesus Campos. He was a guard at Mandalay Bay. He got interviewed nowhere else. You know where he got interviewed in the beginning? Ellen.
Really?
Weird. And then they went on, if you could find that clip, they went on with a weird diagram of how it happened, and Ellen's showing the people how it happened. Not like an emotional, how are you feeling, how are you holding up? It was a weird diagram of and then he went to the left and to the right. It was very...
Now, those same A-listers who once lined up for Ellen's couch are ghosting harder than a bad Hinge date. Suddenly, no one recalls the dance-offs, the awkward celebrity pranks, or the unnervingly forced cheerfulness that, if harnessed, could probably power a small village, or at least a season of The Bachelor. Rogan, predictably, is having an absolute field day. He likens Ellen's public unraveling to an ayahuasca trip gone completely sideways. First comes the euphoria, the studio audience clapping on cue like trained seals. Then the hallucinations, believing all that choreographed kindness was genuine. And finally, the purge, lawsuits, tearful ex-staff confessions, and now, producers suing for enough money to launch their own rival network. But the descent doesn't end there. Gutfeld, ever the snarky philosopher, wonders aloud how someone who made a living selling joy and jump scares forgot to treat the backstage crew like actual people, not human set pieces. It's like Ellen's entire production was one massive escape room. Only the guests got to leave, while the staff stayed trapped, searching for the nearest exit sign. Rogan, leaning into his chaos theorist persona, suggests this whole debacle might be Hollywood's idea of a detox. Strip away the glitter, the soundtrack, the PR polish, and what's left. A once beloved icon spinning damage control statements like a circus performer juggling plates. And no matter how fast she twirls, one's bound to crack.
Got canceled for real a few years ago from just being a jerk.
Yeah.
It wasn't a single comment she said or something she did, just lots of people saying that working for her was a living nightmare and that she's a jerk. And I think that's probably why she wants to leave, because she hasn't really been able to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, remember how everybody loved Ellen? They're like, Ellen, we love you, Ellen's here, yay. And then that all went away. So she probably has been thinking of a reason to leave, and now she thinks that this is the reason to try to make it look like some sort of, look how afraid I am, I feel how you feel because I'm, of Trump.
Yeah, it was just the excuse. She is, Emily, I watched her comedy special. It was like a huge pity party. It was about how she was lamenting how her reputation has suffered. She's essentially as popular as a pit bull with monkeys.
Then comes the real kicker. Gutfeld can't help but chuckle at how long it took for the curtain to finally drop, not with a dramatic crash, but with the slow, awkward unraveling of a sweater snagged on the truth. This wasn't a downfall. It was a carefully choreographed implosion, held together by PR spin, studio denial, and the occasional dance break to distract the crowd. The Ellen empire didn't explode. It deflated, slowly, silently, with a hiss. And now, with producers demanding a cool $100 million, it's no longer just a lawsuit, it's a grand finale, complete with fireworks, irony, and one last glittery jazz hand send-off. Rogan and Gutfeld didn't just roast her. They basically hosted the funeral, eulogizing her Hollywood legacy between punchlines. But Greg's not letting Ellen off stage just yet. He speculates that behind every carefully rehearsed smile was a soul quietly screaming into a decorative succulent. The idea that the backstage of the Ellen show felt more like a glitter-coated gullet? Too rich for Gutfeld to resist. He even suggests those pastel Be Kind mugs were probably filled with the tears of overworked staffers. That's the kind of toxic positivity that should come with a trigger warning. Meanwhile, Rogan, ever the provocateur, pivots to the absurdity of watching a multimillionaire lecture the masses on humility and kindness, while allegedly treating her own crew like stage furniture. That's not just irony, he says. That's sociopathic branding with a side of jack.
Times are they're gonna find the thing if you don't go away. You gotta have a good run, and then when you have a good run, you step back and you go, okay, I'm still gonna do my thing, but like I'm not. I mean, there's only a few jobs in entertainment, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of the cancel culture shit is probably these motherfuckers want those jobs.
Ooh.
They're like, how long is this bitch gonna be dancing? I can dance with Hillary Clinton. I could do the Charleston with Henry Kissinger, whatever the fuck she does out there.
The Charleston, is that what it is?
She goes out there, do the Charleston. She's got war criminals. Her and Bush are jumping around. I mean,
That's right, she was buddies with Bush. That
yeah,
was like
she's
one of the
a
first
CIA agent.
Then there's the lawsuit itself. Greg treats it like the surprise series finale of a sitcom nobody asked for. Only this time, the punchlines are subpoenas, and the laugh track's been swapped for depositions read in deadpan. He imagines Ellen strutting into court, still clinging to those jazz hands, only to be met by a jury that's been binge-watching exposes instead of reruns. Just when you think they've squeezed every drop of irony out of the situation, Rogan throws in a haymaker, comparing the Ellen Show to a North Korean variety hour. All bright lights, choreographed smiles, and an atmosphere so stiff it could snap. A place where clapping isn't joy, it's survival. Mispronounce a celebrity's name, and you might vanish backstage with nothing but a Be Kind mug and a panicked intern for company. Greg's loving every surreal second. He riffs on how those cheerful opening monologues now read like psychological thrillers. Was that peppy one-liner just a disguised cry for help? Were the audience members actually dancing or trying to find the emergency exits? What once looked like a pastel dream is now being reimagined as a perfectly curated hostage crisis. And just when you think the spirals hit bedrock, they go there, the idea of Ellen staging a comeback. Rogan practically bursts into laughter. A comeback from this? That's like trying to relaunch a cruise ship after it's already sunk, burned, and been turned into a crime scene. According to him, the only stage Ellen belongs on now is the courtroom witness stand.
Stay in the hell of Trump. We're out of here. By the way, Walter.
I think we could let the illegal aliens stay if we get enough of Hollywood to self-deport.
Yes. I will take 1,000.
You know, exactly.
I'll take 1,000 Venezuelan migrants for one share.
Exactly. If you can get one Hollywood star to leave, you get to stay. Otherwise, it's out.
You know what, though? It's funny. I just want to bring this up to you. You can comment or not.
Yeah.
So she left a celebrity base to go to London, and she's already ensconced with other celebrities. So she's basically still in the same bubble.
She's not going back to London. She's going to Oxfordshire. And as the only person on this set who attended Oxford University.
No, way to drop that
It's true. I can tell you that there is nothing high British Oxford society loves more than a failed and despised American talk show.
Greg suggests that if Ellen does attempt a comeback, she should ditch the old routine entirely. No dancing, no monologues, no fake chair. Just 30 minutes of unbroken eye contact with a single houseplant while unsettling ambient music plays. Maybe call it the Ellen Experience, Remorse Edition. Think art installation meets emotional reckoning. Then comes the inevitable tell-all speculation. Rogan throws out Be Kind as a sarcastic title, dripping with irony. Greg, never one for subtlety, pitches something a little sharper. Tears behind the teleprompter. Either way, they agree it'll top bestseller lists. Hollywood eats up redemption arcs, just as long as they're marinated in enough behind-the-scenes dirt to make them binge-worthy. But they're not forgetting the producers. According to Rogan, these lawsuits aren't just legal maneuvers. They're chapters in a slow-burning novel of revenge. Each affidavit reads like a dramatic monologue from a former extra who finally gets their big scene. Greg chimes in, saying the producers probably held onto their grievances longer than some people hold onto wedding vows, just waiting for the right moment to swing the guillotine. Then come the details: allegations of hostility, intimidation, public shaming. It reads less like a workplace and more like a Renaissance fair gone rogue. Rogan jokes that even reality TV villains are taking notes. Greg speculates that the biggest twist isn't the lawsuits, it's the revelation that Ellen might have been playing a character all along. Like the Mr. Rogers of passive aggression, sweet sweater, soothing tone. But behind the scenes, a master of soul-snatching side-eyes. And somehow, we all bought
that all the time. It doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage. of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life, and it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they
Dogs
have like
around them.
Yeah, she's got dogs and hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't.
At this point, they argue it's not even about the money, it's about legacy. Ellen DeGeneres didn't just take a PR hit. She pulled off a speedrun from America's Sweetheart to an honorary cast member of Succession. And no amount of awkward dances with C-list celebrities can rewind the growing avalanche of scandals. Rogan doesn't hold back. This isn't just a cancellation, he says it's an exorcism. Hollywood is purging the fantasy that smiling faces can't be soul-crushing bosses in disguise. Greg nods, eyes lit with glee, chiming in that Ellen's brand was never about kindness. It was about control, dressed up in glitter, pastel tones, and perfectly curated lighting. They marvel at how so many ignored the red flags, the icy interviews, the strange passive-aggressive jokes, the Stepford-level smile that seemed almost too perfect. Looking back, Rogan says it wasn't subtle. It was a neon billboard flashing Rin in all caps. Greg laughs, imagining the inevitable documentary. Behind the smile, the Ellen DeGeneres catastrophe. Picture grainy B-roll, dramatic piano music, and former staffers tearfully recounting the day they realized they were working inside the pastel-colored purge. Then Rogan pushes it to 11, comparing Ellen's vibe to a malfunctioning Stepford wife. Outwardly warm and perfectly pleasant, but every so often glitching out and shrieking at the gardener for rearranging the succulents. It's satire with teeth, and suddenly the sitcom queen looks more like the star of psychological thriller.
She's putting this on Trump. Do you think that she's going to be just everybody's going to love her in England?
Especially the jihadis who love the lesbians so much. They're going to love her there. I think she's fleeing for way more than her anger over Trump.
If Trump is truly responsible for Ellen's exodus, shouldn't that go down as his greatest achievement in the last 8? I mean, he should get the Nobel Prize.
He's literally going to have a who's who of left. I mean, the entire 80s music catalog is gone. You got Springsteen, Cher, Madonna. I just don't know why they keep showing pictures of Aaron Rodgers with blonde hair.
Meanwhile, Greg jokes that Ellen's studio probably had a hidden underground bunker, complete with panic-breathing zones, mood lighting, and a cardboard cutout of Oprah whispering affirmations to stressed-out interns. A place where emotional breakdowns were sandwiched between tapings and team huddles over herbal tea. And just when you think they've milked the last drop of satire from this saga, the dew dives into a new bid. Ellen's possible rebrand. Wellness guru. Maybe. Picture her selling juice cleanses, moon-charged crystals, and launching a podcast titled Beneath the Smile. Rogan cracks up at the idea. Ellen guiding others through their trauma while expertly sidestepping her own PR minefield like a barefoot yogi on hot coals. Greg wraps things up with a final roast that hits like a double espresso. If Ellen wants to win back public trust, step 1 might be not getting sued by your own producers for a sum large enough to purchase a small European country. Because when your multi-million-dollar kindness empire caves in under the weight of its own irony, even Hollywood's most cynical voices start to sound like moral compasses. Rogan agrees, deadpan, as he delivers the final blow. The only thing more absurd than the lawsuit itself is that it took this long. The dance is over, the applause lights off, and Ellen's brand. Deep in the spin cycle, no delicate setting in sight.